Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. I'm back with another video for you. This time, we're going to be talking about your 2020 fantasy football drafts. I like to draft best ball teams, and for me, I play best ball over at Underdog Fantasy. That's where I play the most best ball this year because they have the biggest tournaments. I always want to go after the tournaments. They're the most fun for me. I love playing best ball because that means that I don't have to play with waivers, trades, transactions, anything during the season. I can focus on daily fantasy, which is where the vast majority of my bankroll goes towards when it comes to fantasy football. But I do love drafting. I always have. I've been playing fantasy sports since I was 13 years old. And so therefore, that's why I've started really putting most of my season-long play into these best ball leagues. Now, a best ball league, for those of you who don't know what that is, a best ball fantasy football league is one where there are no transactions. You don't have to set a lineup. There are no waivers. There are no trades. It's a war of attrition. Yes, your players can get injured, obviously, but so can everyone else's. And whoever is left with the best team wins, essentially. So it's a total points league. Tournaments are different from the full season leagues that run 16 weeks. Tournaments run 13 weeks, and there's the playoffs. The tournament they have, the Ball Mania, has a really large prize pool, $1 million prize pool, $200,000 to whoever has the best lineup. Now, you're going to want to draft specifically for that best ball format. And one of the most powerful things that you can do when building a best ball tournament team is stacking. Not unlike we do in daily fantasy. You've talked about combos forever in season-long fantasy, but in best ball, I don't have to set a lineup. Whoever the best players are, whoever scores the most points that week, think about it like a best ball golf tournament in real life. Whoever hits the best drive, everybody in the foursome is playing off of that drive. So if I have three quarterbacks and I have to start one of them, quarterback 1 has 30 points, quarterback 2 has 22 points, quarterback 3 has 4 points that week. The lineups are made after all the points are scored, and your highest scoring possible lineup just gets plugged in, and that's how they determine the total points. So as I said, stacking is the easiest way to give yourself the maximum amount of upside when it comes to building best ball teams. I want to talk to you guys about some of my favorite stacks. I'm going to give you 5 of them. 5 players or 5 teams with the players on them with a quarterback, at least 2 of his pass catchers, and possibly 3. Sometimes that could include a running back if you've got a really great pass catching running back like the Panthers, like the Giants, maybe even like the Eagles with Miles Sanders this year, where you can stack all of a quarterback's pass catchers as long as it's viable via ADP. So I have focused on my 5 favorite stacks via ADP with quarterbacks of varying prices. So I've got a couple that are going to be high-priced quarterbacks, one that's going to be a mid-round quarterback, and 2 that are going to be later-round quarterbacks. Let's get right to it, and let's talk about these stacks. The first stack that I am going to suggest is right there on the thumbnail. Very obvious, very easy to get. You do have to have a specific draft pick to be able to get this stack, and there is a little bit of risk involved, but the risk is minimal because the quarterback is the one that you may not get. So if you're drafting from the 9 spot, 10 spot, 11 spot, it is very likely that you will have Tyreek Hill on the table. So I don't think that the Chiefs stack is a viable attacking point if you're drafting in the top 6 in the first round, for a couple of reasons. One, opportunity cost. If you're drafting in the top 6 and you take Tyreek Hill over any one of those stud running backs, I really believe that you are taking too far of a leap to be able to make that up on the back end with a mid-round running back later. Take that running back that's available to you at the first half of the first round and then just deal with another stack. You can't just force a stack if it's not going to fit for ADP. If you're drafting at 9, 10, 11, very likely Tyreek Hill is going to be on the table. He has an ADP of the 10th pick overall, so you should be able to grab him. If you grab Tyreek Hill, it's very possible on Underdog right now with the current ADPs that Travis Kelce falls to you, as his ADP is currently 2.03, is going to 3rd pick in the 2nd round. So you can come out of the first 2 rounds with Hill and Kelce, and then the 3rd round, you got to hope that Mahomes falls to you, but he would only have to fall about 3 picks, as his current ADP on Underdog is the 6th pick in the 3rd round, ADP of 30. So yes, you may not come out of this with Patrick Mahomes, but if you have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, you're coming out of this with like 70% of the targets and touchdowns. Well, not targets. You're coming out of it with 70% of the touchdowns that he is going to throw this year with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, both with double-digit touchdown expectation. in any year, and big splash opportunity when it comes to best ball, where they're going to really affect your lineup. They're not mutually exclusive. Both of them can have big days, both based on their target share and based on big playability that Kelsey brings, his touchdown upside that he brings with as many red zone and end zone targets as he has, and Tyreek Hill's big splash ability, scoring more deep touchdowns than basically any wide receiver of all time in single seasons. He's already done that twice. So you can get both of them. Mecole Hardman is my preferred third target for Patrick Mahomes if you get all three in the first 3 rounds. If I don't get Patrick Mahomes in the third, I'm probably not targeting Mecole Hardman in the 9th round. He has an ADP of 9.5 right now. If I get the first 2 but not Mahomes, I'm just going to go another route with it. If I get all 3, I'm probably going to prioritize Mecole, and I may draft him. And this is a big key for me. When I'm drafting stacks, and if I'm starting to get into it, I'm much more willing to reach for a player half a round ahead of time and not gamble that they're going to be there for me on the way back. Because once I've started to build that stack and I've got the wide receiver I want, or 2, and I've got the quarterback to go with that stack, I want to prioritize getting the rest of that stack. And I'm willing to give up just a little bit of value on the front end in terms of the draft for the upside on the back end if that stack really takes off. So this is one stack that I think you can get the pieces early, Kelsey and Hill, without having to tie them to Mahomes. And that's different from my next stack, which is another premium stack here. And it's a little bit risky at the front end. And we're going to discuss that right now. And that is the Baltimore Ravens. So using the Ravens as a stack, we can see that Lamar Jackson has an ADP of just in the 3rd round right now, 3.03. And these ADPs are not from Underdog Fantasy. These are from FFPC. Obviously, a little bit different rule. FFPC uses premium tight ends, which is 1.5 per catch, 1.5 PPR there, as opposed to the 0.5 PPR that Underdog uses. But it's a good graphic from RotoViz, so I kind of wanted to use it. And it's close enough in terms of the ADPs on that site to make this reasonable. So the red line is Lamar Jackson, and the green line and dots are Mark Andrews' ADP. And Mark Andrews has an ADP which has fallen recently. He was going in the 2nd to 3rd round around that turn. He is now listed as the 3.11 in terms of ADP on Underdog Fantasy. As I said with the Chiefs, I'm happy to get the pieces, but not the quarterback. With the Ravens, I've kind of flip-flopped on that. I'm more likely to like a team with Lamar Jackson. So if you're drafting 1 or 2 or 3, and you've got whoever you're drafting in those 3 spots in whatever order, whether it's CMC, Barkley, and then Zeke, that's how I personally have it. But if you have it a different order, whatever. In the 2nd round, if I'm going to shoot for this Ravens stack, and you have a choice of Mark Andrews or Lamar Jackson at that 2 pick at the end of the 2nd round, I'm going to prioritize taking Lamar Jackson over taking Mark Andrews, and this is why. I like the way that I can build the rest of my team if I spend that 2nd round pick on Lamar Jackson, which admittedly is early for me to want to take a quarterback, but Lamar Jackson's a little bit of a different animal where I'm getting a running back 1 based on his rushing stats, yardage, and touchdowns, and a QB that has massive upside and efficiency based on the offense that he runs and the tools that he has around him at all the skill positions to be able to actually pay that off. Where if you get CMC and Lamar Jackson, and obviously that both him and Andrews are available at the 2-3 turn, you can just stack them and then work on Marquise Brown later, who we can see his ADP has shot up since the NFL draft. Now, if I have like the 3 pick and I take Zeke with my first pick, at 2.10, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not going to take Andrews there and hope that Lamar makes it back to me. I'm going to prioritize Lamar at 210, and then if Andrews is still available, I'll take him, and I can build towards that stack with Marquise Brown. You could even add Miles Boykin in later in like the 17th or 18th round if you want to complete this and have a full pass game stack. I'm fine with that if that's the route that you want to go. But different from the Chiefs, I'm going to prioritize the quarterback over the pieces as opposed to the pieces over the quarterback. This is a very viable and very attainable stack from an ADP standpoint as well, and you're not going to have to give up too much value. My next stack is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people who don't trust the Cowboys. People think that Dak is a bad quarterback. People don't like this, whatever. Dak is an excellent fantasy quarterback. Y'all need to get over that hurdle. The pieces that are around him based on ADP allow this to be a very viable stack. Now, I'm probably not going to grab all 5 of these guys, right? That's not the way that I'm going to go. If I want to shoot for a Cowboy stack, Amari Cooper has a ADP of 3.3. So let's say that I start, with any one of those first 3 picks in the first round, and I've got my stud running back. Second round, I take whoever I want, right? Pick whatever you want there, and you can get the third round, top of that third round, top half of it. You can come out of that with Amari Cooper. And then Gallup's got an ADP around 6.4. Dak Prescott with that ADP around 6.1. This is a little bit more attainable if you have an end of the first round draft pick where you may not end up getting Cooper, right? If he doesn't slide to you in the third round. But you can very, very reasonably come out of this with Gallup and Prescott at the 5-6 turn. You can get CeeDee Lamb in the middle to the end of the 9th round. And Blake Jarwin, who currently has an ADP of 12.5, but I think that that's going to rise as draft season moves on here. Gives you an opportunity. If you get the first parts of this, if you have Dak and you have 2 of Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup, it's very possible and plausible for you to know that you can get Blake Jarwin and just grab him in the 11th round, jump the ADP by a little bit, give up a little bit of value to make sure that you are prioritizing the upside on this stack in case the Cowboys are a top 3 offense in the league. And I think that there is more chance than not that they could end up there, or a top 5 offense of the league. I think they're a lock for that as opposed to previous years. And you know where the touchdowns and the targets and the catches are going to come from. And as long as you have 3/4 of that passing attack and you have the quarterback and a quarterback with the ability to run in touchdowns, that puts you in a much better spot as well to capture all the upside when those playoff rounds come in a best ball tournament. The 4th stack is a little tougher, and you have to be really adamant about getting it. And this is going to be the Rams, with Cooper Kupp having an ADP of 3.08 and Robert Woods having an ADP of 3.10. You're going to have to hope that Woods falls to you, or if you are picking at the end of the third round at that 3-4 turn, meaning you have a late first round draft pick, kind of like the Chiefs stack, right? Where if you're picking from 10 through 12, very realistic that you are going to have Cooper Kupp on the draft board for you to be able to select. If you're not picking at the actual turn at 3-12, you're going to have to hope that Robert Woods is still available for you on the way back. If you're picking at 12 and both are available, very easy to go after this stack. You take Kupp and Woods at the 3-4 turn. Tyler Higbee somewhere in the 8th round with an 8.6 ADP currently. And Jared Goff going at 13.5 right now. A very cheap quarterback to be taken in the, I think he's around the 21st quarterback being drafted right now. If you listen to the late round podcast with JJ Zachariason we had on this show a week and a half ago, one of his main talking points this offseason is that Jared Goff is due to regress to the mean, and that's not a negative thing. For as many yards and completions as he had too few touchdowns last year, and if they throw the ball as much as they did in the past, which I don't see any signs why they wouldn't, and they complete as many passes for as many yards as they did in the past, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, his touchdowns should climb. So knowing that he should throw for more touchdowns and the value that you're getting him at and the way that you can go after all of his targets and stack them all up, the possibility of Jared Goff throwing for 28 to 33 touchdowns this year is not out of the realm of possibility. And knowing that he has a very narrow target tree, especially once they get inside the 10-yard line, this gives you the best chance for upside from a late round QB. And the second or the last late round QB that I have here, my 5th stack, is the Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger, Deontay Johnson, Eric Ebron, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju, you're going to have to take him in the middle of the second round with a 2.05 ADP. Deontay Johnson has been skyrocketing through the offseason. He's cooled off a little bit, as you can see, but on this is in FFPC, as opposed to his ADP currently on Underdog Fantasy is the middle of the 7th round. So you're going to have to be able to take him in that range and be comfortable with taking him in that range if you want this full Steelers stack, this 4-man stack. The other 2 pieces, very easy to get, with Ben Roethlisberger going in the middle of the 12th round at 12.7 ADP, and Eric Ebron with 154th overall, a 13.10 ADP to finish that off. And we know that Ben loves to target his tight ends. Yes, Ben is coming off of an injury. I believe that Ben Roethlisberger is healthy right now. If you don't have to play this stack. You can avoid all these stacks if you want. I've said to chat before we started recording, I don't require that you do what I say. I'm just telling you what I personally like, and if it's available and it's viable for you to go get it in these best ball leagues. And this is the routes that I'm going. These are my 5 preferred stacks that I am targeting most in the drafts that I'm doing. Thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back with more content next week. Hopefully DraftKings will have their salaries out by then and we can do a lobby tour and a breakdown of week 1. Catch you guys later. Bye.
He's a legend.